Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 112. We have made it to our 112th episode without being struck off air. I'm very grateful to everyone who tunes in every week now to hear our guest, to hear what he or she has to say. Please do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, to hit the all-important subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. And also, if you're watching this on Facebook, to like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page, because that's another way you can be kept updated about things that we're doing here at the Hare Krishna Project. As you know, we don't just produce podcasts, we also do book distribution, school programs, Hare Krishna festivals, lots of things that keep me out of trouble. Okay. What an episode. What a guest for 112. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our guest this week. It's His Holiness Trivikrama Swami Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's wonderful to have you with us. I'm really delighted that we've arranged for this interview to happen. Okay, Maharaj, we're going to kick off with a nice, easy question. It's the question that every guest gets first, just to warm us up. Please tell us a bit about you and where you are from.
I was born in the United States, on Long Island, New York. My father was a civil engineer. There were 4 of us children, and I went in the Navy at 17 because it was mandatory to go at the services at that time. And I got out when I was 21. And I wasn't so happy. I went back to the university. I went to the university then, actually, not back to where I went first time. But I was kind of not satisfied with my life. And so I was looking the spiritual books and so on. I had kind of turned against or away from Catholicism. I was raised a Roman Catholic, but I wasn't so happy with that. And I also have to admit that I felt I didn't like to feel guilty that if I was doing something was so-called wrong, and that was a sin. And so I thought better to have no God who was seeing everything. So I became like an impersonalist. I was interested in spiritual life, but I thought everything was one. We could attain a super consciousness and become one with the universe, something like that. But that didn't really satisfy me because it wasn't working. I still had my problems, and it was like it was an ideal, but to live that ideal was difficult. So I was still seeking, and then I met the devotees at the University of Buffalo in 1968. And I thought these people are very sincere, and they're so much, you can say, attached to their guru, Srila Prabhupada, his name. And so I thought they were a little naive, maybe, kind of borderline fanatical, the way they were preaching that Bhagavad Gita is the only way, something like that. So my first challenge, I should say, is I wanted to disprove them. So I went to the library because I had heard of Bhagavad Gita. So I got 4 different editions of Bhagavad Gita, 4 from different authors. And I did a comparative study. And I came to the conclusion that the devotees were right, that at least according to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that he's God. So if he's God, it means that no one is equal to him or greater than him. That's the definition of God in the dictionary. We find that definition there. So Krishna is claiming that he is that person no one is equal to or greater than. And I had in my impersonal wanderings, I had some of my so-called teachers had spoke about Bhagavad Gita, and they all spoke highly about it. So I thought, well, this sounds, maybe the devotees are right, Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so I thought, let me stick around. And I loved the prasadam. The food was so wonderful. And the kirtan. So kirtan was the first taste I got, higher taste, I can say, along with prasadam. Spiritual taste, because it was very joyful, and uh, everybody was happy. It was a community or congregational upliftment. It wasn't just like previous I'd taken yoga and so on, but that was like individual. You couldn't interfere with the yoga teachers when he was into his samadhi or whatever. He wanted to be alone. But this was the opposite. It was a congregational. Everybody could jump together, dance together. And I felt it quite joyful. So I liked the kirtan from the very beginning. I liked the prasadam. And I liked the devotees. I mean, I was a little skeptical, but then as I saw that they were so sincere that I was attracted to that also. So then I used to start to come regularly. I would live by myself. I was a student. I got money from the government because I was in the Navy and so on. So I was getting a master's, not a master's, but a regular degree in social science. I was thinking could be useful. I'll get a job when I graduate and, get married and become a regular person. But before that happened, I thought, well, let me try this Hare Krishna. So I gave myself like a 1 year carte blanche that I could try it and not feel guilty that I was doing anything wrong. I had time. And so I did. And that was then I had the next big thing was I met Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, of course, is our spiritual master. And I was introduced to him in New York City, 26 Second Avenue, his original temple there.
Wow.
This was the summer of 1968. And I was brought up to his room by one devotee who I knew from Buffalo, where we were at school. And Prabhupada this boy introduced me to Prabhupada. His name was Burjan. He's still a devotee, nice devotee, Burjan. And he, and Prabhupada heard my name and so on. And then he said, he was sitting alone. He said, "Thank you very much." And I was thinking, he's thanking me, but I haven't done anything. I just showed up here. But that was Prabhupada's mood. He was throwing a big net. He was bringing everybody, come, hear from me, take prasadam, join us. And in the last days, Prabhupada said, if I made any mistake, I accepted too many nonsense disciples. So that was Prabhupada's mood. He was bringing everybody, inviting everybody, please come here, chant with us, take prasadam with us. He was personally cooking and distributing prasadam. So I was attracted, and like I say, I from there I went to New Vrindavan, and Prabhupada came there. I was still, it was the summertime, so I was traveling freely. Then I was coming back to Buffalo to finish my studies. And then when I came back after having met Prabhupada, and then I became more serious, and I thought, let me move in the temple. So I did. So that was difficult in some way because you live in the temple, we had to get up at 4 a.m, and then I still had my schoolwork and stuff. They let me stay, continue school, but live in the temple. And actually, I found that I did better in school by living in the temple. First of all, I gave up my bad habits. I was smoking cigarettes and, illicit sex. So these things I was able to give up. And so I had more energy, more time. I did better in school. And I was able to, every day attend the early kirtan, and I felt happy. And I thought, well, let me keep trying this. And so I'm still trying. That was a few years back.
Wow. Can you tell us, Maharaj, about maybe your first encounter or your first meeting with Srila Prabhupada? What was that like being in his presence?
Yeah, it was I could see he was very learned, but at the same time, very humble. That was the thing that impressed me the most, that he was so humble. He was reaching out to us, encouraging us, but even we hadn't done anything. And there was never a sense of false ego. I didn't see any false ego. I could tell other stories that I had with Srila Prabhupada that could illustrate that point even more, if we want to jump to that.
Yes, please do. Please do. Please tell us a story. That would be wonderful.
Okay, well, I'll pick up from where I left off. I got initiated. Prabhupada came to the University of Buffalo in April 1969. I got initiated. And then I met Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan a few months later after I had graduated from the university. And I asked Prabhupada, I said, Srila Prabhupada, I'd like to open a center, maybe in California. I was thinking of San Diego. We didn't have a temple there. I had been there previously. So anyway, then Prabhupada called me a few days later. He said, you mentioned you wanted to open a temple, but now we've just gotten property in London at Berry Place. So I want you to go there and help those grihastha couples they're requesting a brahmachari, because brahmacharis are coming, but they'd like to have a brahmachari to help train them up. So of course I went there. It wasn't that, okay, Prabhupada sent me to London and therefore he bought me a ticket or something. No, the system was, Prabhupada gave you an assignment. You had to go in the street and hustle the money. I was selling little incense sticks and whatever I could to get the money to fly to London. So then I was there, and to my great good fortune, because I was the senior brahmachari, when Prabhupada came, I was given the service of giving massage to Srila Prabhupada. Actually, I've written a book on this subject. I forget the name of the book, but anyways, we can find it for you. So Prabhupada, he took massage. So I never gave massage before, so I was trying my best, and Prabhupada seemed satisfied with it. And so I continued with that service. So every day for 45 minutes or an hour, I would go into Prabhupada's room, 11 o'clock in the morning, and give him massage. And I remember I was doing that, and one day we had a big open program. First time we had a big open program in London. And many people came, mostly Hindus. There was like 300 or 400 people we had advertised. But one person was challenging. Some Indian people, they were, what about Lord Shiva? And they were, bringing in personal aspects and so on. But Prabhupada was very strong. We never saw him so bold. He told this one man, sit down, you are nonsense. So we never saw Prabhupada in such a fiery mood because, like I say, on the personal level, he was so humble. So the next day I was giving massage. It was a series of lectures. So while I was massaging him, I was thinking I was getting him in shape for another knockout performance. So I was massaging and talking and massaging and talking. I learned later from those who were personal servants that when you give massage, you shouldn't talk to Prabhupada because he's resting. But I didn't know. I was just talking. And my mood was kind of getting him in shape for another knockout performance. And you and I, Prabhupada, we could take over the world. That was my, puffed up mood. And then suddenly, Prabhupada was silent. Then suddenly he said, no! And my hand is like frozen on his body. And then he said, and with another voice, like a 7-year-old child, he spoke from way in his heart. And he said, in this humble voice, I am just a humble servant. And I felt so embarrassed. That I was in the same room with him. He was such an aristocrat. I'm just an ordinary person off the streets of New York. And I shouldn't be allowed to be in the same room with him or to speak of touching his body. And there was a throw rug there. And I thought I should go under the rug just to escape my false position. So anyway, the point was that Prabhupada really did see himself as a humble servant. It wasn't artificial humility that he was expounding. He thought he was a humble servant because he was always thinking of his Guru and Krishna. And in Noah's relationship with Guru and Krishna, he was a humble servant, so it wasn't something artificial that he was presenting. He was speaking from his heart. I am just a humble servant. So that was a very good lesson. I realized that I wasn't humble and I had better learn how to become humble. And in his association, I did get some more lessons. And over the years, I hope I've become a little more humble. But the false ego is very difficult to overcome. We're everyone born with this false ego. False ego means I'm the center. The child, the psychiatrists tell us that the child is 1 year old or 2 years old, something. They really think that they're the center of the world because of false ego. This is our disease. Everyone who comes into the material world has this false ego. I want to be in the center. Whether it's Putin or Trump or everyone, you go up and down the list of our leaders. Everybody has got this problem of false ego. And it comes out in various ways. But here was a person, Srila Prabhupada, he had no false ego. And so he could be the well-wisher of everyone. There was no envy, completely free from any sign of envy because he was the well-wisher of everyone. He could see from that position. He wasn't trying to take advantage of anybody. He was full in himself, fully satisfied. And so he didn't require us to bring money or something. No, he was satisfied. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai. Thank you, Maharaj, for sharing that story. A lot of our audience is a British audience or British-based audience, and the fact that you shared something about your time at Berry Place, I know a lot of people will be pleased to hear about that. Maharaj, you're possibly one of the longest-serving sannyasis in the Western world. I mean, I haven't done that much research, but I think possibly the second longest serving in the Western world after Jayapataka Swami, possibly.
And that's correct.
And there was another kind of cohort in 1972, the year after, who are still around as well, such as Sri Dayananda Maharaj, Sarup Maharaj, and also he might have a different name now because he's in a different mat, but Janardhan Maharaj, who I think might have had a different name at the time, but he's certainly in the Sri Chaitanya Sarasmat. So you're one of the longest serving, and in one sense, in the grand scheme of eternity, it's just a small amount of time. But in our kind of human understanding of time, it's quite a long time. And I'm really keen to know why you have chosen to dedicate your life to Prabhupada or to Lord Krishna in this way. 52 years in the sannyas ashram is a huge commitment.
Well, like I say, Prabhupada captured me by his humility, by his well-wishing, and by his encouragement. And so he asked me to take sannyas, and I kind of thought I wasn't qualified. And I kind of asked him, well, Prabhupada, I don't know if I'm qualified. And he said, well, you want to get married? I was giving massage, just the two of us. This was later in New York, 1971. And I said, no, Srila Prabhupada. He said, then you can take sannyas. So he wanted sannyasis because he wanted to establish this movement all over the world before he left his body. The signal was there. His health wasn't so good. So he felt some urgency to make this international society. Yeah, that was his goal. So sannyasis were helpful in that regard. So how can I give up my connection with him? He would be disappointed if I gave up sannyas, if I left the movement. And now I see the positive side is my life is getting better and better. Most people at my age, now I'm 82, I'll be 83 this year, but most people are dwindling, they're going down. But I don't feel that. I feel like I'm expanding still. I'm preaching more. I have more energy. So how can I give that up for what? Well, for what? What's the alternative? To get married? I'm going to marry at 82. I'm going to go looking for a bride. So I'm kind of, you're stuck with me now.
Mm, mm. Well, thank you. I want to say thank you for sticking with it. In one sense, I feel like I should say thank you because it's leaders like you that provide an example to the rest of us.
Mm.
You know, I'm certainly very impressed that you've been a sannyasi for 50, what year is it now? 53 years, 2000. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge commitment, and it's inspirational to people like me who are, you know, also in a Western body in the Western world, that, you know, we're looking for leaders that we can follow, and you know, that those that we can be inspired by. So thank you for that commitment. And Maharaj, you must have traveled to lots of countries over the last 50 years. And following the example set by Srila Prabhupada, sharing the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, please tell us a bit about some of the countries that you've preached in and the projects that you've been involved with over the years.
Yeah. I have traveled the world, but it was always under Prabhupada's instruction, at least while he was on the planet. So he sent me to Japan. He sent me to London, first of all. Then after London, I went to Germany. Then from Germany, and that's a little story there. Some of the leading devotees, they wanted to get me married, but I didn't want to get married. So I wrote to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said there should be no canvassing for brahmacharis to get married. And so he gave me permission to come back to America. And I met him there in 1971. Well, actually, he wasn't there, but there was a meeting in Vrindavan at that time. It must have been 1970. And some of the leading devotees started preaching that Prabhupada is God. So I knew that that wasn't the fact. I used to give him a massage, and his body was older. You know, he had wrinkles and so on. And I knew that Krishna was ever youthful. So how could he be God? So I didn't accept it. But anyway, from there, then I traveled again under Prabhupada's order. I took sannyas, and then he sent me to various places. So it was a dynamic time. I didn't feel any need for women because we were so enthusiastic in our preaching, and it gave us life. Krishna was reciprocating. We always felt enlivened, selling books. I'd sold a lot of books, and doing kirtan. I always liked the kirtan. I joined in the kirtan. So I had no reason to give up. And in the course of my travels, I did go to various countries, into Hong Kong, Taiwan. I preached for some time. In the Philippines, I was there for some time preaching. It was always nice. And then Prabhupada sent me to India to help in Chandigarh. And then he became sick, of course. I was there for those last days. And Prabhupada was on the last days, Prabhupada was on the planet. And that was also a lesson, how to leave the body, and you know, like he said to one person who saw him, it wasn't such a pretty picture. He was dying. His body was dwindling. But we should, and he didn't perform any magic. Sometimes people were asking to show some magic. You know, one devotee said, I'll give you my youth, you can take, and I'll take your old age. I said, no, we don't want to do anything unnatural. He was afraid of that. We see what happened with the Christians. Christ was showing miracle, and then they thought he's God, and they still think he's God, right? This is a mistake. So we don't want to make that mistake. Prabhupada wasn't God, but he was a pure devotee of God. And therefore he didn't want to do something unnatural that people would say, oh, well, Prabhupada could do it, but we can't do it. So he was showing us that we can also do it. We can die Krishna consciously. He showed us that. We don't have to think that, oh, we're not going to die, or we're going to somehow have a miraculous, no, it's a struggle. Death is not so pleasant. What does Krishna say? Janma mita jaravadi, birth, death, all these diseases. These things are troublesome. And we should accept it, that we're in an awkward position. We're going to have to die. Everybody owes God one death. So Prabhupada was showing us how to die. Don't expect some miracle. Don't drug yourself up so much that you don't even know what's going on. Face it, and you'll learn something. And that's what Prabhupada was teaching us by his example, how to die. And it wasn't so pretty. Because he did it without some miracle. He did it in a real way. And there was some discomfort on his side. But he tolerated that. Because, of course, from the spiritual side, he knew he wasn't the body. So, but again, he didn't show miracle. I think that's an important point, because spiritual life, a lot of people think that there should be miracles, especially the Christians. But no, the miracle is that we can remember Krishna and we know Krishna's pastimes. You see, that's the problem also with the Christians and the Muslims. They don't have any clear idea. What did God do? What does he do? But we have so much literature. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, here is Krishna on the battlefield, helping his disciple, or helping his devotee, my bhakta, because you're my devotee. So we have wonderful pastimes of the Lord, and something to remember and something to absorb ourselves into. Whereas they don't have a clear idea. What if you ask the Christian, what is Christ doing now? They don't know. They don't clear. He's struggling with the devil or something. And the same with the Mohammedans, the Muslims. They don't like it if you start asking. Then they think, oh, you think God is a person or a human being? But no, he's not a human being, but he's a person. That's right, he's a person. He has likes and dislikes. But they don't like that so much. They have some magical thing that he's there sitting on a cloud or something. No, he's a person. He has likes and dislikes. And he has will. Therefore, Christ also told him, thy will be done. So that means he's a person. So what does he want from you? So we have a clear picture. What Krishna wants from us. What does he want? And I can say this to everybody. He wants us to help Prabhupada push on this movement. That's what Krishna wants. Krishna likes to see his devotee glorified. Prabhupada is the recognized devotee. We should make Prabhupada a household word throughout the whole world, that everybody should recognize it, that this person is a higher level than Muhammad or Christ. And I'm 100% convinced he is. He didn't have to show, the kind of death and crucifixion, and his movement didn't immediately split up as soon as he left the planet, like the Sunni and Shia are killing each other, still killing each other. Protestants and Catholics killing each other. No, we should remain united in Prabhupada's feet. And this movement can go on for 10,000 years. That was Prabhupada's desire. And it can really change the world. So why should I give up on something like that? This is what Prabhupada expected. And if we're not loyal to him, then we may get weak-hearted and, give up Krishna consciousness. But why? I'm kind of forgot what was the thread of my talk.
It doesn't matter, Maharaj. It was wonderful for you to share that with us. I mean, the question was about some of the countries that you've been to over the last 50 years, but you did kind of allude to that. And then I think you wanted to talk more about Prabhupada, which is absolutely fine. I loved hearing about what you said. Which projects, what are you involved with now? You go to Poland, I think, quite a bit, don't you, Maharaj, to do preaching?
Yeah, I'm more or less at the point of just traveling and preaching. I do come to America. I'm here now, but I'm leaving on Tuesday. And so my mission is to travel and preach and not have it like a big base or something that I have to maintain. So financially, I'm independent. I get enough money from my disciples for my travels and wherever I go. And so I don't have any project that's mine, so to speak. I did have it, but then I saw that Krishna arranged for me to just be free from that management. So I'm not a manager anymore. I have been manager for years in different projects. But now I'm free from management, which gives me, it makes it easy for me to just go where I feel Krishna wants me to go, to this center, to that center, to whatever. And I find it very inspiring. And so my future is bright, like I say. I'm eager to get back. There's more preaching there. I find the preaching in Eastern Europe is very good, like Ukraine and these countries. I'll be there soon. And Poland also. Poland is a little tough because the Roman Catholic Church people are kind of attached to that. But you know, the funny thing is in Poland, we're getting a lot of people from Ukraine because they're leaving. And so they're joining us. And they're also Indians. In Poland, there are many Indians are there. And so they're also joining us there. I have two disciples, good men, Indian body. They joined in Poland. So Prabhupada's international. He doesn't care, black, white, Indian, or whatever. Anybody who's interested, he's ready to take them on. There's no sense of sectarianism. I mean, we can say, yeah, that being born in India is a favorable birth, but not necessarily that you become a devotee. And we see, I went to India for the first time in a long time, and I was impressed that the preaching there is wonderful. There's so many young men, good men are coming. And that was Prabhupada's vision also, to do something wonderful in India, Mayapur, and Vrindavan and Bombay especially. He had those 3 projects that he wanted to develop.
Maharaj, may I ask a question about Ukraine? Obviously, everyone knows what's been going on over the last 2 years. What is the mood like of the devotee community there, in terms of how are they getting on?
Yeah, there's a saying, right? There's no atheists on the battlefield. So the preaching is actually better. In other words, Ukrainian people in general take it more seriously when we tell them that the material world is a place of misery. And that's a hard one. Krishna said, Dukalayam Shashvatam. This place is full of misery and it's temporary. But people don't want to accept that. But I can be happy here. You may be miserable, but maybe you should see a psychiatrist, but I'm happy. I have a good wife, a good job, good business, everything. So that's the hardest obstacle to accept, that we're in an awkward position. But that's the reality. We're not meant to die. We're not meant to get old, become diseased. These things are all signs that we're in a disease condition. The whole condition is disease due to false ego. But by putting God in the center, we can make it the Vaikuntha. We can make it like the spiritual world from any position. If you put God in the center, Ishavasya, then it becomes a spiritual position, spiritual affair.
Thank you, Maharaj, for sharing that with us. Okay, let's pretend, maybe one day it will happen. Let's pretend that every single TV network in the world and every single radio channel in the world gives you 5 minutes on prime time. 5 minutes for the whole world with Trivikram Maharaj. What would be your message to the world?
Well, of course, the first message is there that Krishna gives to Arjuna, that we're not this body, we're the soul that's in a body. And we can prove that in the sense that the body is changing, but I'm the same person. So why not accept that? That's the first teaching. The second teaching is that Krishna is the supreme person. Everybody looking for God, so Krishna's coming and says, I'm God. Here I am. Aham Sarvasya Pavavo. I'm the source of everything material and spiritual. Study Bhagavad Gita and you'll see either Krishna is the biggest egoist, biggest crazy, cuckoo, or else he's God. Because he's clearly saying it over and over again throughout the Gita. And Gita is accepted as a very advanced spiritual treatise. So why not accept the whole thing as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is? I saw personally how Prabhupada was disturbed with people who would take Bhagavad Gita and twist the meaning, take Krishna out of the Bhagavad Gita and put their own meaning there. And I saw Prabhupada became disturbed. He said, why don't they write their own book? Why are they coming to Krishna's book and twisting Krishna's words? So if we just take Bhagavad Gita as it is, like when I went to the library, I checked the other day. This is as it is. Prabhupada is giving as it is. But there's so many Hindus, especially, who twist it. And therefore, they do a disservice. Instead of putting Krishna in the center, they put themselves in the center, that they're very advanced and so on. So, this is our message. And then, of course, the next message is Prabhupada. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to speak 3 minutes about Prabhupada. That he is not ordinary living entity. He's empowered Shaktavesha avatar. Although he's a jiva, he never claims to be God, but he is empowered by God, just like Lord Jesus was. Only he's even more empowered than Jesus was. And his movement will go on for 10,000 years. So why not get in on the ground floor and help and do something? Read his books and you'll see for yourself that he's not an ordinary person. I've been going over this Srimad Bhagavatam. Every day I have a Zoom conference for an hour. And now I'm back into the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Every page is so wonderful. Prabhupada's books are so wonderful. It can't be written by an ordinary man. He's empowered. So that would be my message. If give me 5 minutes, I would talk about Krishna and Prabhupada.
Wow. Thank you, Maharaj. I loved that answer, and I loved how you presented it to us as well. Very kind of direct and very clearly, kind of no messing around. This is my 5 minutes, and this is what I'm going to share with the world. So you never know, maybe one day it will happen. How can we attract more particularly Western people to Krishna consciousness? We know, and you, Maharaj, will know more than others, the sacrifices that Prabhupada made back in the 60s and 70s to share this message of bhakti with the Western world in particular. How can we convince Westerners to follow Krishna consciousness? How can we attract more of them to the movement?
Well, in my opinion, when Prabhupada left the planet, we were attracting so many to the movement in the Western world. But what happened was many of the leading disciples imitated instead of following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, and therefore they fell down. So when the whole rung of leadership falls down, then naturally it filters down to everybody. Everybody loses faith. Everybody thinks, well, maybe Krishna's not God, or maybe Prabhupada did something wrong. Just like these Ritviks, they've come up and they say, Prabhupada didn't want any other guru. He's going to be guru forever and ever. But that's a reaction to the fact that some of the gurus fell down. So then they couldn't digest that Prabhupada made people gurus and then they fell down. So Prabhupada didn't make anybody a guru. He gave them a chance, but many of them didn't follow. Prabhupada told us at the end, strictly follow. He never compromised the principles. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meeting. But they fell down because they couldn't follow those principles. And so people lost faith. And then, so now how to get the faith back? We need leaders who are strictly following. I see that one of my godbrothers, Bhakti Vikas, he's opened a center in Georgia, here in America. And they're selling so many books. And a group of them came here recently, right into my space here where I'm sitting. We had wonderful kirtan together, and they're so fired up. They had to leave early because they have to get up early to go out and sell books. So that's still the formula that Prabhupada had. Sell books and do kirtan. And that's what they're doing, and they're getting success. So I think we can get success here in America also, like strictly following and distributing Prabhupada's literature. This literature is not ordinary literature. If anybody reads it, they have to be impressed. Prabhupada once said, if anybody reads a Krishna book from cover to cover, they have to become devotee. Because how did you become a devotee? Somehow you became convinced that this is not a bluff. Prabhupada's not bluffing. He's giving us as it is. So why not? And then you get a little taste because Krishna's in your heart. As we surrender unto him, he reciprocates. So we take a little step to Krishna. We try seriously to do something for him, and he's going to give us 10 steps from his side. And then, wow, it works. This really works. It's not a bluff. Let me do a little more for Krishna. Let me give up this nonsense that I've been doing. Whatever it is. We all know some nonsense is there. So then the movement expands. It has to go person by person. It's not like somebody comes and touches you and then suddenly you're Krishna conscious. That's all bogus. That Ram Krishna so forth has touched Vivekananda and gave all his power. And it doesn't work like that. It's the process is transferred through knowledge. Divya Gyan. The knowledge is there in the books. We acquire that knowledge, then we can convince others also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's wonderful to hear. I really, really appreciate that. If some of the people watching, the devotees watching, the viewers at home want to find out more about what you're doing or to connect with you, what's the best way to do that? Is there a website or a YouTube channel or something like that?
The best way is through my email. I answer all my emails. So my email address is Trivikram, Trivikrama, Trivikrama.swami, Swami, @gmail.com.
Well, I will make sure that with this podcast, that's put with the description, if that's okay.
Anybody can write. I mean, you're not going to write to waste my time. There should be some question. There's some, this is serious business. We're talking about death and how to overcome it. So it's not a joke. But at the same time, Prabhupada was taking all kinds of questions. And we do too. Every day when I have this Zoom class, you can also join us in the Zoom class. But first of all, connect with me through my email, and then I can link you to our Zoom class, which I give every day when it's possible. Sometimes if I'm on a plane, I can't.
Yeah, that's great, because I know that some of the viewers watching will want to get in touch with you and to ask you questions. And one of those questions will be, do you run daily online preaching events? And you do. I do. A Zoom class every day.
Yeah, and it's quite enlivening for me. I find it something to look forward to in the day, that I'm going to be speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing Prabhupada's nectarine words, so inspiring. And everybody gets inspired because it's contagious. And again, comes to the point. We're very fortunate that Krishna has sent us Srila Prabhupada. He's empowered to do this. And we're coming, following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, teaching us how to be a devotee. So everything is favorable. We have the example of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, teaching us how to be devotees. And we have the example of Srila Prabhupada and what he's done. His books, so many books are there. I'm reading again, and it's always fresh, always new. And Bhagavad Gita, if we learn Bhagavad Gita properly, that's sufficient. But the postgraduate study is Srimad Bhagavatam. And then what to speak of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have no dearth of literature. If anybody wants to go into it deeply, you can read 8 hours a day. I mean, I can't read 8 hours a day, but some
That's one of the great things I find about kind of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, is there is an unlimited amount of books and literature and scripture.
Yeah.
You know, the Christians have primarily just the Bible, and the Muslims the Quran. We have all of these Vedic literatures and Prabhupada's books as well that provides answers and commentary and explanations, and it's your whole lifetime.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
It's just
I mean,
unbelievable.
the Goswamis, their literature, Sanat Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they've written so many books.
I think one lifetime isn't enough.
And so inspiring, and then you're inspired to take another step towards Krishna. That's what Krishna's waiting for. He's waiting for us to surrender. Take another step towards him. Give up some nonsense that you're doing and add something positive. Accept everything favorable, reject everything unfavorable. That's the basic principle of our Krishna consciousness. Reject everything unfavorable. We're all doing some unfavorable things. We know it. But you know, the habit is there, oh, it won't matter. But no, we have to be more strict with ourselves. Then it becomes joyfully performed. Then it's no longer who is it? Madhavendra Puri. When he came to the stage of spontaneous devotion, then he said, morning bath, I bid you adieu. He didn't care anymore for the rules and regulations because he was spontaneously attracted to serve the son of Nanda. Who's the son of Nanda?
Lord Krishna himself.
Yes. So that's what we have to remember. Lord Krishna himself. And Prabhupada is always bringing us to Krishna. He's never, just like I gave the example of when I was trying to, you and me, Prabhupada, we can do something. No. He always wants to, I should follow up story to that. In the same span of time, maybe 2 months later, because I was giving massage there for 3 months in London from September to December 1969. So another time, Prabhupada was giving lecture in the evening, and he spoke, and he said how the spiritual master is the representative of Krishna. And that somehow, that very place, a small temple room, I was only sitting an arm's length, 2 arms lengths away from Prabhupada. But when he spoke that, I got a mystical experience that Prabhupada is not an ordinary man. He actually is representing Krishna, and he's just in front of me. And it was like a, you know, what's the word for that kind of moment? So I didn't see anything. But next day when I went to give a massage, I spoke to Shula. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, I very much liked your class last night. So Prabhupada, always being personal and reciprocatory, said, oh, what part did you like? And I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. I said, I like the part where you said you were the representative of Krishna. So this Prabhupada liked. He didn't say no. He accepted it fully, digested it, put it in some. And then, like his nature was, he turned it back. And he said, and you also can be representative of Krishna. When you say, Prabhupada said, he used his own name, or Krishna says, then you're also representing Krishna. So it's not exclusive. Only Prabhupada can be a pure devotee. No, he wants everybody to be a pure devotee. And there's no reason why we can't. Only thing keeping us back is our own lower nature. Okay, should I stop?
Thank you, Maharaj. That's wonderful. I'm conscious of your time today. You don't have that much time, but
no, I can spend a little time, but
I mean,
how do you want to engage me? I'm kind of spent out.
I mean, it's been great to have you as the guest on this week's podcast. So I think what I'm going to do is say goodbye to the viewers at home, and then we can have a very brief debrief after. But I really appreciate you, Maharaj, giving up your time today to record this podcast. It's been great to have His Holiness Trivikrama Swami.
I'm willing to come back sometime, maybe 6 months or something.
Yes, I would love that, and we can talk more about
Prabhupada.
About Prabhupada, absolutely. And I'd love to maybe, how much time did you spend in London out of interest?
1 year.
1 year. I mean, we could talk more about your time.
In that time, I was also sent to Germany for a couple of months. But yeah, anyway, yeah, we can talk about
We could talk more about Prabhupada. Prabhupada in London, or you in London.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking of all the things that we could talk about. I'm getting quite excited. Um,
Yeah.
so I think what I'll do, Maharaj, is just say goodbye to the viewers at home, and we can have a brief debrief after. So it's been
Okay.
fantastic to have His Holiness Trivikrama Swami as our guest on this week's podcast. I'm hugely grateful to him for giving up his time and sharing some of his knowledge. I personally find it very impressive to meet someone like Maharaj, who's been serving Prabhupada for so long. I find his example very inspiring. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, to hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts. And if you're watching this podcast on Facebook as well, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. Thank you for watching, and until next week, I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.